Hi everyone, I'm Lisa and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I've got a fun Christmas card for you today using the Cookie Cutter Builder Punch. And I'm using it in coordination with the matching stamp set, which is the Cookie Cutter Christmas. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? But it sure creates a really cute card. Take a quick peek. I've used a breakaway front for the card, and I've used the Santa in an unusual way to create a chimney. Really lots of fun. I'm excited to show you how to create the card, so let's get over the stamp table and let's get started. Here's the card we're going to make today. You can see that I've created a breakaway front here where the designer paper lays. Now my original one, which is always my prototype, I didn't put an insert, but today during the video we're going to do that. So let me show you how I made this focal point. I'll have all the cutting dimensions for today's project over on my blog. I'll be sure to put the link here underneath the video in the description so you can get there easily. But this is 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm going to use my paper trimmer today to create some score lines. So I'm going to bring that in here for you. The light blade is for scoring. The dark blade is for cutting. We're going to start by scoring this in half at 4 1/4. So I'm going to line that up here, and then your score blade will fall right inside this track to give you that halfway mark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off 2 inches from one end of the card. So I'm going to line this up at my 2-inch mark. This is the dark one that'll cut. So we're going to slice off 2 inches. That's what's going to create that breakaway front on the card. If you've watched my videos before, you know I'm a big fan of the bone folder. That'll give you that nice crisp edge. I've then cut a piece of designer series paper. This is 2 inches by 5 1/4 inch. This is from the Candy Cane Lane designer paper series. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? So this is going to end up going here. Got my snail adhesive, and I'm going to put a little adhesive on the back. Both sides are cute, aren't they? And then this is going to go here. Now I'm lining it up just so I have a little bit of a border at the top and the bottom. Okay, so that's going to be the front of the card. We talked about adding that panel to the inside, so I can go ahead and do that now. I'm going to leave mine blank. It's a small area, and I've already got a sentiment on the outside. But if you're going to stamp one, you would want to do it before you mount it, because if you make a boo-boo, you can always flip it over. The other thing is I like this for a message, so I'm going to handwrite my message. I'm going to put adhesive on the back, just like we did with the designer paper. And that's going to go here in the center. And I'm going to butt these two right up against each other here, making them as even as I possibly can. So there we go. Now that's done. Let's work on the outside. I'm going to use the basic black archival ink. And I'm using the sentiment, Ho, ho, ho. I'm grabbing the stamp set for you. It's from Greetings from Santa. I'm really enjoying these images and the text in here. So I'm going to do the ho, ho, ho. That's super appropriate with our Santa down the chimney. I don't like to stamp on the bulk. I find that this always gives me trouble. So here's a tip for you. Open up your card, ink up your stamp. I'm making sure I don't have ink around my edges, and then just stamp your greeting. I like that the card is flat. Gives me a little bit better experience when I'm stamping. On a piece of white scrap cardstock, I am going to stamp the Santa image. You can certainly use your basic black ink pad, that'll work, but it does leave a little bit of a stain. I'm kind of crazy. I like Memento for my photopolymer stamps, and it cleans really, really well. This image actually has been used dozens and dozens of times, and prior to my inking it, you'll notice it didn't have any residual on it. So I'm going to stamp that here on my scrap. I don't like to watercolor with Memento because it can bleed. It's a water-based ink, but I do find that it markers just fine, which is what we're going to do today. I've brought you in a little closer so you can see better. So now I'm going to do a little bit of coloring. Remember, we're not going to need the upper half of his body, so I'm going to flip this upside down so I get a good visual of exactly how far I need to go. So I'm going to take my red marker and I'm going to give him red pants. I'm an outliner. I like to outline before I color in. I just find I can stay in the lines better. My mom tells me I even did that as a kid. So I'm going to color him in here. And I'm going to see probably a little bit of the bottom of his Santa suit. So I'm going to color that in as well. I'm going to leave the belt buckle area open. And I'm going to just leave a little bit of red here because I think that little bit will show. So we're going to color that in. All right, so that's good with the red. I'm switching over to the black marker. On my original one, I colored these in black as the top of his boots, but those certainly could be the cuffs if you wanted to leave them white. You can see I have a little marker boo-boo there, so he's going to get cuffed boots today. Had I not made a mistake, maybe we would have colored that in with, left it white and put it some glitter or... So we're going to color that in. I love these Stampin' Write markers. They are double-sided. This obviously is the brush side for coloring. This side is the marker side, which is great for writing or for journaling if you're a scrapbooker. I'm going to leave that area blank here for the trim of his jacket, and I'm going to color in the actual belt portion of his suit. Now, I'm not worried about losing that little bit of a detail line. I think it's going to be fine. And the very inside here, I'm going to color. Now, you can certainly switch the marker around and go to the finer tip if you'd like. I like the way this chubby side markers in better. It's nice and smooth. All right, so now we've got that finished. I'm going to use the Wink of Stella to give the white a little bit shimmer. On the original one, I used Dazzling Diamonds glitter with a fine tip glue. It really doesn't matter which one you use, it's just a matter of taste. But just for the sake of the video today, we'll switch this up a little bit. So I'm going to pull that off. I'm going to make sure that's flowing really well. Now I'm going to give you a tip about the Wink of Stella. You're not going to want to touch the marker areas because if you do, it will bleed in there. There is an alcohol base to this, so that'll smear your ink. This will give you a little bit of shimmer without any mess if you don't like the glittery mess. So that'll give me my white areas. And now I'm going to switch, and I'm going to get the gold Wink of Stella for his belt. This I found works really, really well. So I'm going to go around the outside and give it that little bit of brassy look to that belt buckle. Okay, so now we have that all finished. Let's work on the chimney. I've cut 2 pieces of crumb cake cardstock. These are going to actually make the chimney and the chimney top. And I'm going to bring in the Big Shot so that we can use the brick wall embossing folder to give this bottom half some texture. Here's my Big Shot. We've got the multi-purpose platform. We're going to put a clear mat on the bottom to protect it. And here is that brick wall embossing folder and my scrap. I'm going to make sure I've got this going the right way because this is going to be tall. So I've got my brick image lined up here. I'm going to put my embossing folder on top of that clear mat, and I've got another clear mat for over the top to protect it. The embossing folder is the exact same width of the track of your Big Shot. So you're going to want to make sure that the ends on both sides of this folder are going to clear so you don't chew off an end of that plastic folder itself. And then we're just going to crank this through to give it that texture. All right, so we're just going to take all this apart, and you're going to see that we've got a really fun brick pattern to this piece of paper. I decided they were just a little bit too plain. I wanted them to look a little aged and roughed up, more like actual brick. So I used the crumb cake ink pad, I opened it up, and I just recently re-inked this. So this is going to be a little bit darker than my original one. And literally, I just tapped. So I just tapped ink on here, and I switched. And because of the quality of the Stampin' Up! Cardstock, you're going to find that this dries very, very quickly. So there's the top. And then on the bottom, I made it so that the actual lines or the mortar were indented. If you like the other side better, that's fine. And I did the exact same thing. I held a corner here, and I just tapped the pad. And you're going to see how it resists those little mortar areas as long as you don't press too hard. You just need a very gentle end, and you're going to see I'm using the actual edge here of the ink pad. So that's good. Now we've got our top and our bottom. The cookie cutter builder punch is going to make punching this out so simple. No fussy cutting required. So I'm going to slip him in through the top. I'm just going to finagle him a little bit. Look, do you see how small this piece of paper is? If you weren't able to finagle this, I want to give you another tip. I shared this on a video just recently, but I want to show you again. A Post-it note will extend your reach on these small pieces. So I'm just going to attach the sticky top to the corner. This is a great way to use those little scraps up, and then when you decide you're going to punch them, then you realize that they don't fit, but now they do. So I'm actually holding on to the Post-it note to help maneuver the paper, and then I'll just give that a squeeze. This can be reused again. If a small piece of Post-it note gets punched out, no worries. Just pull that off very gently. That is repositionable. So now we have our Santa. So I'm going to bring these pieces back in and the base of my card. I'm going to pull out my dimensionals, and I'm going to start by putting the chimney together. So I'm going to put a couple pieces of dimensional on the back. I'm going to leave this area open because remember, he's going to have to go behind here, so you don't want to have to go too far. You can also cut the dimensionals in half with your scissors like I've done here, which will give you a smaller piece and a larger area to manipulate. Now you certainly can cut this one, but I'm just going to show you how it works. All right, so we've got that here. I'm going to take off that paper backing. If you're having trouble, press with your nail in the center. That'll raise up the edges for you. Another good tip. I had to learn that the hard way after many years of struggling with these small fingernails to try to get those off. And so here's the card base. I'm going to put my chimney right down here near the bottom. And now I have my chimney top, and I'm going to add dimensionals to this as well. But I'm going to make sure that they fall way on the outside, so I'm going to definitely have to use the halves for this, leaving room for my Santa to come down the chimney. Take off that paper backing. And then this will get positioned over the top of that chimney top. And you can see I'm overlapping it just a little bit. Now, for some reason, if your guy doesn't fit, like mine's going to fit, but I'm going to show you the other thing you can do. Give him a little haircut. I know he's losing a few limbs, so I'm going to cut off his arms. Push those aside, and now he's going to slide in a little bit better. I do want this area here because this is where I can easily place adhesive. So I'm going to put a little snail adhesive there and a little bit on the back of his legs just to tack him down. And then we're going to slide him in upside down just to where you want him. I want his little bit of a belt to show. And I'm going to press. I like to rub from the back because I always have inky fingers. But there you go. Easy, huh? I think it looks harder than it really is. Here is the card I made before. This one uses the Dazzling Diamonds glitter, and this one uses the clear and the gold wink of Stella for today's card. I'm so glad that you've joined me, everyone. I look forward to sharing another video with you soon, and I hope you have a great day.